Does anybody else hear that? Just shh, listen. It's the rumbling! Barry, I am so sorry I knocked off your hat for a stupid joke, which doesn't even really make a lot of sense because as of the last chapter of Attack on Titan, the rumbling has effectively stopped for right now. I mean, I guess it could always start back up again. That's kind of the 11th hour thing we're kind of waiting for here. But yeah, so this is the penultimate chapter of Attack on Titan, chapter 138, titled A Long Dream. That's right. This whole crazy ride is coming to an end. We're pulling into the station next chapter 139, which so close, Isayama. You couldn't have made it to 140. You couldn't have made it a nice even 140. 139, that's where we're stopping it. Maybe we'll do 139 like the final chapter, and then maybe in like 6 months we'll get like a bonus, you know, epilogue or something. I don't know. Sometimes mangakas do that. Sometimes like the series will end and, you know, maybe a few months or maybe a year or so will go by and we'll get like a proper like ending chapter. I remember they did that with Full Metal Alchemist, so maybe they'll do it with this. I don't know. It's just 139 is a weird number to stop on, but okay. So maybe it all ties back into the Titan time loop, like everything, like it ends at 39 and it just resumes, and that's just how it goes. Okay, so a lot of stuff to unpack here. It's been quite some time since I've discussed Attack on Titan on the channel. We of course have giant creepy chibi-eyed Mikasa back here, which is very you know, relevant because she is a very prevalent character in this chapter. Tell you what, I mean, spoilers, I mean, everything involved, I'll put spoilers in the titles, but spoilers, anybody that was just waiting on, you know, Mikasa and Eren to kiss, well, we have that. I mean, there were plenty of other moments throughout the story where I'm like, okay, is this finally gonna go down that road? We got close, but not entirely. Nope, this is the chapter where they kiss. Mikasa kisses Eren's face. Yes, his face. I don't know, the rest of his body wasn't attached to his face, but she does kiss his face. Okay, so, yeah, last chapter, it looked like they had finally defeated, Eren. You know, he was in the giant, you know, dinosaur / Titan skeleton form, whatever you want to call that thing, and they blew that thing to Kingdom Come, and it's like, okay, cool, is that actually gonna finally put a stop to it? The giant glowing centipede thing, which is like the origin to all this stuff, the thing that Ymir, like, touched in that well, you know, activated the power of the Titans, you know, centuries ago or whatever. That thing looked like it was separated from Eren. It's like everything was good. The rumbling has stopped, which, I mean, like, how many people have died from this? I'm just throwing out there. I don't think it's ever been given, like, an exact number, but pretty sure we're in the millions, right? Like, there were a lot of people that died from this, right? So it's definitely like in the millions of casualties at this point. So the Titans all stop, but keep in mind, these are also like colossal Titans that are really, really huge. So they don't just all like disappear like as they're walking, you know, they're just kind of like stumbling down to the ground and like falling on their knees. How would you feel to be the unlucky guy to be like running away from the giant horde of colossal Titans and just like, oh no, it's all over, and then boom, they blow freaking Eren's nape up, and then all of the colossal Titans begin to stop, and it's just like, oh, we did it, we survived, and then like boom, like one of them just falls, like its knee just crushes you or something. That would just suck. Or maybe like one of the bone fragments that flies off of Eren's Titan just crushes you. Be like, we did it, we survived. You know that happened to plenty of people, right? That wasn't me being funny. Like, given the size of these things, that statistically had to happen to several hundred people, okay? Well, anyway, the Titans all stop, but they're not disappearing yet. You know, they're still outputting a lot of steam, and the fear is like, okay, we're not out of the woods yet. This thing could still start back up at any point. It doesn't really seem impossible that these Titans could just get back up and then just keep on walking. So we need to really make sure Eren is dead here. Armin is still in his colossal. Reina is still in the armored. And they're going to try to figure out, like, okay, we need to find where this centipede thing went, and we got to eliminate that. There's a lot of really heartfelt reunions in this chapter, which the first half of this, you're reading it, and it's like, oh, man, did they succeed? Did they win? And it's like, yeah, Yeah, this is Attack on Titans, so it's like, okay, we're literally on the second chapter, in the penultimate chapter before the end of the story. If this was any other manga, maybe you could just go with it. You'd be like, okay, you defeated Eren, everyone's safe, the rumbling has ended, everyone's gonna have reunions with their family members. In some cases, like Annie reunited with her father, who she hasn't seen, I guess stepfather. I don't think it's I don't think it's her biological father, but they haven't seen each other in a while, right? Like Rhino's mother and everybody is there, right? Falco's family, all that kind of stuff. It's like any other series. This is the chapter where they defeated, the big bad or whatever, and they all reunited and they're happy. And then the next chapter is just the little epilogue where everybody's like 5 years later, Connie is working in the village. He's a baker now. What about Mikasa? Mikasa also running a bakery, so we get the last epilogue chapter where everybody runs a bakery and everybody's good. But this is Attack on Titan, so yeah, I was kind of on the edge of my seat here, just like waiting for it. And honestly speaking, like, the logic here, I mean, it follows from what we've known so far. Like, so Eren was not completely eliminated, he got, knocked out of that one Titan, like the massive skeletal one, but, it's not completely ridiculous that Eren could just, re-Titan again, and then, so that's what he does. So he gets knocked loose from that, and he just, goes back into his Titan form. He's not quite as huge as he was before. He looks like a standard Colossal Titan now, like he's like a proper, like, founding Colossal Titan or whatever, so he's about the size of Armin, and he's huge, and he's got the long hair and everything, and he is still 100% dedicated to doing this. He's like ready to go here. Outside of a dream sequence in this chapter where we get to hear Eren speak to Mikasa, we don't really get Eren's own voice here. Like, we don't really get to see, we see him turn into a Titan, and Armin stops him, and he's just like, so you're really dedicated to this, Eren? I'm like, okay. And so there's a big brawl between Armin and Eren, but I don't think Eren, like, and the actual, like, present actually says anything. It's always just like the dream state where he's actually talking to Mikasa. So they're brawling. Reina, meanwhile, is trying to grapple with the centipede thing. That thing is completely untouched, apparently, from the explosion. Like, all that, dynamite and everything they used, and this thing is still alive. It doesn't even seem to be wounded. This thing uses its power to create, like, a gas that's very similar to the gas, and they even mention this, the gas that Zeke used at Ragako Village. So this thing has just that ability inherent, so it just spreads the gas all over the fortress, and everybody's there, like Annie's going to be reunited with her stepdad, and then, Reiner's family's there and everybody, and then same thing with Connie and everybody, they're there as well. Like, everybody's getting afflicted with this gas, and it's kind of like a moment where they realize what it is. It's just like, oh, crap, this is the same thing that happened at, like, Ragako Village, like, where all of the citizens turned into Titans, and they all just kind of look at each other like, oh, well, I guess we'll just have to leave it in the hands of everyone else. That it's like, they realize right away what's going to happen, and it's just like, there's nothing they can really do. They can't really escape. Titan shifters that were already having the powers of the Nine, they're immune to this. So Annie, Reiner, Armin, they're all fine, but everybody else gets turned into a Titan. Every other Eldian, of course. So we have Connie and Jean turn into Titans. We see their Titan forms. Reiner's mother, Gabi, she turns into a Titan. So pretty much everybody outside of a Titan shifter is now a Titan right here at this moment, or who's not an Eldian. So they all turn into Titans at the fortress, and they just, like, fall off the side of it, and it's essentially like a self-preservation mechanism for this centipede thing. Whatever the hell you want to call this thing, like the coordinate or whatever. This thing is just like, oh, in danger, being ripped apart here by an armored Titan, okay, and it just summons an army to go attack Reiner and, like, yank him off of it, okay? So that's happening, and then Armin's having this giant kaiju battle with freaking Eren, right? And so you got, Levi is still okay. They were kind of outside of it, okay? And so the Ackermans are already weird to begin with, but at any rate, it comes down to Mikasa here, realizing what she's going to have to do. She still has the headaches, which, by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, but that whole headache thing, that was just, like, she's always suffered from those, but the thing that Eren said, like, oh, that's the reason why you're an Ackerman, like, the Ackermans have this predisposition to, like, always protect someone close to them, like their counterparts, and they're always plagued with, like racked by headaches if they try to fight against that desire, like, it's like their true self fighting against them. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know if it was even confirmed one way or the other, but I think that was just Eren bullshitting, right? Like, that wasn't, I don't think Eren found out any information or anything. I think that was just Eren trying to manipulate Mikasa at that one particular instance, so I don't know, maybe that was, like, confirmed or denied at some point. I think it was Armin that said, like, that was crap, that wasn't, like, a real thing, but it was never confirmed one way or the other. But at any rate, Mikasa always has suffered from these headaches, and she's suffering from them right now, but she realizes what she's got to do. Like, at this point, and considering we're at basically the edge of the world, essentially, because all that needs to happen at this point is that Eren, in his colossal form, just needs to come in contact with the centipede, the coordinate, and then I guess he'll just transform back into the giant skeleton thing, and the rumbling will resume, like, oh, sorry, I just, hit the pause button for 5 minutes. Okay, back at it. And plus, with everybody turned now into a pure Titan, essentially, except for the shifters, I mean, you're pretty much shit out of luck. I mean, Peck is still there. Falco is still there. By the way, one other thing I just want to bring up here. It's been a while. I know this happened a few chapters back, and it was probably revealed as to why this was, but was it ever explained how the hell Falco can now use the Jaw Titan to turn into a giant bird? Like, was that ever talked about? Like, oh, I didn't know this Titan could fly, and that was, like, all they gave? And it's like, yeah, you could say, like, oh, well, the Titans existed throughout history, and there's all these different, like, previous variants of, like, the Armored Titan throughout history, the Colossal Titan throughout history, like, even Bertholdt, we saw him one more time. But it was ever confirmed, like, yeah, I can use the Jaw Titan to fly now. I'm like, he turns into a giant bird. I'm like, okay, that's good, Falco. That's really good. Oh, I get it. Falcon. I get it. I get what you did there, Isayama. How? How? Okay, whatever. Anyway, explain that or don't explain it. I don't know. I'm just something that I might as well bring up now, considering I was always kind of confused by it. Anyway, they're still okay, and they can still fight, but much of their fighting force has been wiped out, and, the fortress has kind of fallen at this point anyway. Everybody's turned into, freaking Titans. So, Mikasa and Levi, basically, they just look at each other. Levi's already, he's still stitched up and everything. It's a miracle he could still move, but he's Levi. And he's like, all right, we need to take Eren down. And Mikasa, she has a moment where she's like, okay, he's going to be inside of the Titan's mouth. So all you need to do is Thunder Spear his tooth apart, and then I'll get in there, and I'll just end it. So the two Ackermans working together here. And this is where we get to a point involving Mikasa having this dream. And that's the title of the chapter, The Long Dream, or A Long Dream, okay? Where she's just there racked with headaches in the middle of all this chaos that's going on. Reiner wrestling a giant glowing centipede, a bunch of her friends turning into pure Titans, Eren being a colossal Titan, Armin clashing with him. In the middle of all this crap going on, Mikasa's like, ah! And then she just has a dream where what I assume this is an alternate reality that either Mikasa is just dreaming up, or it's a legitimate alternate reality, because with the paths and everything going on in Attack on Titan at this point, Eren literally had the power to see into the future. So if this was a parallel dimension or something, I just roll with it, or it could be all in Mikasa's mind, whatever. The parallel universe seems to diverge right at the point 4 years ago, where they discovered the basement, and they found all of the information with, Grisha in the books and everything, right before we had the time skip, where they all go to the beach. We had the beach episode of Attack on Titan. That was really fun. And, they look out in the ocean like, oh, we're going to do this. And throughout the next 4 years, it was, the war that Marley had, and they were, preoccupied with that. Meanwhile, we had, building up Paradis Island and getting the ports and everything, and, figuring out how Armin's Titan worked and all that kind of stuff, meeting new allies and all that stuff happening. Instead of that going down, though, in this version of reality, right after the beach episode, Mikasa and Eren just left. They just bailed. They just abandoned their duty and just, quit the scouts and just left. And went to some random far-off part of the walls, or I guess anywhere on the island of Paradis, because at this point, pretty much all the Titans have been killed. So they just ran off to somewhere, and there's just like a log cabin, and they're just living there together. And Eren, this other version of Eren or whatever, in Mikasa's dream, is talking about how, it's been 4 years now. So this is taking place like right when the time skip resumed. So right where season 4 of the anime picked up, this is where this is taking place, where Eren is talking about how, the war that Marley had with those other nations, that's ending. So, of course, it was spoken about that Marley was going to invade Paradis anyway to get the resources. So this Eren is, like, telling Mikasa, like, well, they're going to invade here soon anyway, and we haven't done anything to help, and Armin's going to be looking for us and anything, but it doesn't matter as long as, like, we're together. And Eren's like, I just want to spend the remaining years of my life with you, Mikasa. I just want to live here in peace with you, and when I die, I want you to get rid of the scarf. I want you to finally get rid of the scarf. You're going to outlive me by a number of decades, but at least I'm spending these last few years of my life with you. So you can take this to mean any number of things. Like I said, with all the wacky stuff going on, like metaphysical stuff in Attack on Titan right now, you could take this to mean this is just Mikasa's, you know, dream reality. Like, this is her infinite Tsukuyomi reality, right? Or whatever. And she's like, this is what she wanted so bad, you know, just to live in peace with Eren, away from all the fighting. And that's just like this reality that she just created in her head. You know, that could be a thing. This could be a parallel reality or an alternate future, cross time, you know, whatever you want to say. I think it kind of makes sense at this point. At any rate, Mikasa realizes that it's just a dream, or that's not the reality that she's in right now. So she snaps back to her senses. Levi fires the Thunder Spear, breaks Eren's tooth. She gets inside of his mouth. His head is basically, it's just basically Eren's head hooked up to a spinal cord that's like linked inside of the mouth of this giant colossal titan. So it's not actually his real body's in there anymore. Like, he's become, maybe you could look at it like the symbolism, like he's become so much of a monster at this point, he doesn't even have a human body anymore. It's just the titan body hooked up to his brain, and that's all he is at this point. And I gotta be honest, I mean, Eren, at least, you know, this wasn't... I mean, I already kind of assumed it wasn't going to end with the, like, Eren, we're your friends, please, you gotta stop! And so Eren just stops in the middle of the rumbling, and, like, Danny Elfman cues up, like, you got a friend in me, and Eren just, like, flashes back to all the times that he's like, all the times training, you know, back at, like, military school, and then all the fun times they had together, and he remembers, like, Sasha, and everybody, and he's just like, you know what, you got a friend in me! Please, Eren, don't turn into a titan. Don't flatten the earth. Oh, that would suck. And Eren's like, you know, like, tears start streaming down his titan face, and he turns back into a human, and he's like, I'm sorry, guys, I didn't mean to. And he's like, it's all right, Eren. It's all right, Eren. And then that's how the series... I mean, like... yeah, it was well out the window, like, several dozen chapters ago. Eren was committed to, you know, killing everybody. So, even up to the last minute, at least he didn't change. It was like, no, this is consistent with his character at this point. This is what he's doing. He was dedicated to this. All right. So, Mikasa goes into the mouth. She takes out her blade, and she slices the head of Eren off, the spinal cord, disconnecting him from his titan. And then the last scene of the chapter is Mikasa once more flashing back into just her memories where she's living happily with Eren in this alternate world. And then she picks up Eren's disembodied head and kisses it lovingly as you see Ymir behind them, still in the Titan's mouth. And she's just standing there, just smiling, kind of like, okay. Alright, so I don't know if that's either Ymir approves of the Mikasa-Eren ship that, you know, a lot of people were for, or if that means that she's smiling because, yes, you finally killed him. This is what had to happen. Yes, you've saved the world. Congratulations. And so that's the end of the chapter. So, moving on now to chapter 139, which will be coming out next month, early April. I'll be doing another video about that, more of just like a retrospective of the series itself. You know, things I liked about it, things I, you know, didn't like about Attack on Titan, you know, in general, you know, that kind of stuff, that kind of video. So, where are we going to go from here? I'm going to assume they save the day. I mean, I don't think that Eren's going to, like, you know, reconnect to the Titan again, kill Mikasa, and then, you know, just, like, restart the rumbling. I think the rumbling is over, but that still leaves a lot of questions on the table. The best way, I guess, you could do this is just get rid of the Titan power altogether, because the big concern here was that, like, there's, like, a cyclical thing going on in Attack on Titan, where even if you were to stop Eren, and the rumbling were, like, even if you were to get to a point where, before the rumbling even started, if you were able to stop Eren, right, back then, there's still a major problem here, because the rest of the world is still not going to trust the Eldians. The rest of the world is not going to just trust Paradis, just because you killed Eren, right? Even if you killed Eren and Zeke, you know, which, by the way, Levi finally got that kill, but it's like, look, right there at the moment, even in this chapter, we had moments where the Marleyans and the Eldians were kind of helping each other up on the fort, and we had a lot of scenes with that in the previous few chapters where the Eldians were kind of like, the Marleyans were kind of like, you know what, we're sorry, we did all this, we shouldn't have went this with like the Liberio district and everything, that was not the right path to take, we fostered so much hate for you Eldians, and now this is what it led to, all of the hate basically being condensed together to make Eren. So, you know what, they're like, we're going to change, and if we manage to make it out of this, we'll do things differently. Now, that's all well and good, and that's a nice message right there at that moment, and I have no doubt that if they were able to stop Eren right there, let's say the Titan power still existed, but they were able to stop Eren, and all the Colossal Titans, they, like, maybe returned to the walls or whatever the hell like that, I have no doubt that immediately after that horrible, worldly disaster, almost Armageddon that you dealt with, the Marleyans would treat the Eldians very, very differently. It would be the dawn of a new era, definitely. But how long would that era last? And that's the big thing of that Isayama's doing with Attack on Titan. It's just like, how long could this peace possibly exist for, right? Like, the Eldians and Marleyans make peace now. What happens 100 years from now when there's a completely different generation of Eldians and Marleyans? You know, like 100 years from now, a new Marleyan could be born that's like, hey, we and the Eldians have been allies for 100 years, but they literally have the power to destroy the world, and they almost did. And we literally joined into an alliance with them just because of our fear for them taking over the world. And so maybe that Marleyan 100 or 200 years in the future, or an Eldian 200 or 300 or whatever years in the future, might, start to foster the hate again. I don't think it would this peace would last very long. If the threat of the Titans and the threat of the rumbling would still be there, even if it's 100 years of peace, it might not last forever, right? It would eventually go and circle back. Eventually somebody would be born, or a group of people that would be born that would be like, we can't freaking... They have giant monsters that could destroy the world. Yeah, our great-great-grandparents decided to put down the sword, but they have giant monsters that could destroy the world! And they might start up a whole new thing. Like, that could totally happen, right? So, I guess the simplest way to do it is just kind of go the Avatar, The Last Airbender route with it. Kind of go like Aang, at the end of the original series, Aang was like, I don't want to kill Ozai. Oh, I know, he figured out energy bending, and I'm like, I'll just take away his bending. There you go. So now he can't use this for evil anymore, right? So if the Titan power just vanishes, for one thing, that would allow, like, Connie and everybody to turn back into humans, hopefully. That would, of course, take away the Titan shifter powers, but, the story's over at this point. And so that could be a thing. Of course, there's that last panel where it's like, oh, you're free now, the baby. So how's that going to tie back into everything, And, of course, the final big thing is the loop, the time loop thing. So... the chapter, I went back and read the first chapter of Attack on Titan just yesterday, to you, 2,000 years from now, and, there's the scene where Eren wakes up, Mikasa wakes him up when they're kids, before the Colossal Titan attacks or whatever, and he's just crying, and Mikasa's like, Eren, are you crying? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm crying, it must have been because of my dream, but I don't remember my dream, so, So there you go. I mean, that's the connect back right there, freaking Eren might be having the visions of Mikasa and him living together as well or something, and then it's just like, oh, this is the dream. Or Eren's reality, the way that he, just annihilated everyone, killed millions of people with the rumbling, Mikasa kills him, and then it literally goes from Eren's awareness in the present, stomping everybody into oblivion, and he just sees Mikasa coming right at him and just shing, and then it's just, little kid Eren wakes back up inside of the walls at Shiganshina, being like, what? I must have had a weird dream. I don't remember what it was about. It was weird, though. I'm crying. Huh. Okay, well, whatever. Let's go see Armin, Mikasa. That's probably what's gonna happen. If we're gonna do the loop that way, like, so maybe it's a thing where this is just Eren's hell. You ever think of that? Maybe this is just a thing where, like, Mikasa and Levi and everybody else are gonna continue on, and they're gonna make the world a new place, and they have their own little timeline and their own little world, and then Eren is just stuck in this loop. I used to think it was a loop just in general, like a time loop for everybody. It might just be a time loop for Eren. And this is just Eren living out his hell for the rest of eternity, right? And that's what he's stuck in, this, like, endless loop of, like, revenge and rage, And so that could be a possibility. But at any rate, I liked the chapter, and the ending certainly was very shocking. It was rather heartbreaking to see that little reality that Mikasa like dreamed up, and like the way things could have went, you know, if they just left and just like none of this would have happened. Although I guess in that alternate reality, that Marley would have just invaded Paradis anyway and annihilated everyone, and they might have just died. Like Eren and Mikasa might have just died that way. But it was like Eren deciding to toss away his revenge and just choosing to live with Mikasa. So that was kind of sad, you know, how that went. And I guess we'll find out not too long now. We only have a few more weeks until the last chapter's released, and I wait in anticipation to see how this goes. Well, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. This is Tekking, Barry, Creepy Mikasa back here, and I'll catch you back here next month after the last chapter, and we'll see how this all ends, and I'll make a video about the whole series just kind of in general and just talk about stuff. So, thanks for watching. This will be Tekking, signing out.